Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got Darren here from St John.
Hi.
First aid trainer, and Marie here from PlunketLine. So what I'm wanting us to really talk to our viewers today about is really the tips and tricks for the specific sort of accidents and things that can happen at home. And the thing that we probably get most calls about, or fear of from parents about their little people, is fear of choking.
Oh,
it's a real big one. It's really distressing to watch, or even possible choking. And there is a difference between gagging and choking, but it's distressing either way.
Absolutely.
So what do they need to do, Jared?
So I think the first thing, as we've said in the earlier segment, is about making sure their home is safe and trying to prevent the accidents from happening in the first place. When I'm training, one of the key concerns that I have from parents is what to actually do for their choking child. And I think one of the most important things is to realize that when babies choke, there are actually two types of choking. One is a partial blockage in the airway, where the baby may be distressed, maybe crying, maybe coughing. And what's really important to remember is that understanding the difference between a partially obstructed airway versus a completely obstructed airway. A partially obstructed airway, you'll have some breath sounds, you'll have, like I said, crying and coughing. And what's really important at that stage is to simply just observe your baby. There is no need to do any padding. There's no need to do any interventions at all. Just observe the baby, possibly sit them up, and it'll help them to lean forward. Allow whatever is in the airway to come out naturally. And use a common sense approach here, because if you know the baby has choked on something, it's there and it's not clearing, then absolutely call an ambulance. Now, when you compare that to a completely obstructed airway, there'll be no breath sounds, there'll be no noises,
no crying.
There'll be no crying. The baby may be floppy, may have changed colour around the mouth. And
does it blue?
Yeah, very much so. And what's important there is that we are now in absolute life-threatening territory. And it's important, obviously, for parents to stay calm, make sure somebody else has got the ambulance on the way, preferably. And what we can absolutely do with our baby then is, on a stable surface, whether that's on your knee or a table, is to turn baby over. And you'll notice how I turn the baby over there with supporting the head, because we know heads are floppy, they don't have good neck muscles. Turn the baby over, preferably face down, with the palm of your hand between the shoulder blades. And what you're then going to do is 5 back blows. And you'll notice that I was looking at the baby all the way through.
You were, and a lot of parents are going to look at that thinking, I can't hurt my baby.
Absolutely. Look, it's one of those things that we need to try and realize that if we don't get this object out, then our baby is going to stop breathing completely. And I think most parents would want to have a safe and healthy
and know
baby.
they've done their best.
Absolutely. So 5 back blows, checking between each blow. And then again, supporting baby, turning them over. And 2 fingers in the middle of the chest, the same place that we do CPR. And all we're going to do then is 5 chest thrusts.
And that's like in the middle of your breastbone.
Absolutely. And you'll notice again, as I'm doing this, I'm looking at the baby all the way through. Hopefully the ambulance is already on its way. Either way, the ambulance still definitely needs to come. And alternating that from 5 chest thrusts to 5 back blows all the way through until the object comes out. As a really, really easy and quick tip for dealing with babies. But most importantly, understanding the difference between partial and complete. If there's any kind of noise, don't deliver the back blows. If there's no sound, changes in colour, and the baby's not breathing or the floppy, then 5 back blows, 5 chest thrusts with a check in between each blow. Obviously, if it comes out, we can stop the back blows and the chest thrusts.
And look, while you've got your baby here, just have a look. If we can show everybody, just like this is their airway. And so it's a really good demonstration here of why we always talk to parents around having baby flat on their back for safe sleep, and not sleeping in a device that's not suitable for sleep, or designed for sleep. So i.e. car seats. Because sometimes their heads can slump forward, and what happens when their head slumps forwards is that they can kink or block that airway.
Absolutely.
And we think they're quiet and they're sleeping, and then we look and we suddenly realise that maybe they're not breathing properly at all because of a kink to that airway. So that's a really good opportunity just to demonstrate that. Thank you. So one of the, other than choking is, yes, and what it means, and then how to do a CPR. That's the biggest sort of fear that parents have. And thank you for doing that so nicely. It was
That's okay.
Yeah, nothing like seeing a practical demonstration in a first aid course. You'd get to practice it yourself, parents, and know that you were equipped and to do it. And remember, if you know how to do it, you may never need it. What about falls? Like, this happens all the time. People fall, they hit their heads, or they hit a part of the body. So when there's been a fall, what we always want to know is from how high, how hard the surface was, other than when we've ascertained that baby's breathing or your little one's breathing. But, what we need to do, especially if they hit their heads, because that can be really concerning. The brain's had a little shake inside the head if it's had a really major blow to the face or to any part of the head. Yeah.
I think with any fall, as you said, a lot depends on how high and where they've fallen from, and what they've landed on. And I think the key message there is trust your instincts. Okay, first of all, if it's only a small height and it's fairly soft, trust the instincts, and any swelling around the head or any marks, clean the wound if there is a small wound.
And check for how much bleeding and if you can control
absolutely.
it.
So our bleeding treatment would be simply to apply direct pressure.
Yeah. And that can be with anything, can't it?
Very much so. It can be your T-shirt. It can be.
Yeah.
Or do you know what it could be? It could actually be something that you actually put in your brand new first aid kit that you might have won.
Yeah.
Or
so
purchased.
Yes, exactly. So you might have a roll of gauze or anything there.
Very much so.
Wow.
Preferably something clean, obviously.
Something clean.
Ideally. And I think the key thing for parents, especially if our little ones are getting a little bit bigger and starting to climb, might be concerned about spinal injuries.
Yeah.
The reality of a spinal injury is you may not immediately be aware of it. So I guess the general message is, if you suspect it and your child, your young person is awake, keep them as still as you possibly can. But the key message I really want to put out there is, if your child becomes unresponsive and they're breathing normally, then the young person or the child really does need to be on their side. And I understand there's a lot of concerns about spinal injuries and children climbing trees or whatever, but the safest thing to help protect your child, if they're unresponsive and breathing normally, is to put them on their side and make sure that you've called 111 and asked for ambulance.
And do you want to just demonstrate, if
sure.
this is our baby, but if baby was 2 or 3 years old, the same principles apply?
Very much so. There is no right or wrong way in putting somebody on the side. The key message here is as long as the person, as long as the child, the baby, whatever age person this is, as long as they're on the side, as long as they're stable, then how you get there is nowhere near as important as simply putting that young person on the side.
Right.
And again, obviously, if we're talking falls and we do have the brain's been shaken and we do have an head injury, you may end up in an unfortunate space where the child is not breathing normally.
Yeah.
And in that case, if you can't wake your child up, and if the child is not breathing normally,
when normally we want to see regular breaths,
absolutely,
that are comfortable to happen,
unlaboured,
comfortably,
yes.
No extra distress or effort or labour.
Very much
work
so.
For the breathing. They're not working to breathe, they're just breathing comfortably.
Yes, so and you can check that, by listening against the mouth, opening in baby's or young person's airway, watching the chest rise and fall, feeling for air.
Yeah.
And a really, really good tip that I tell people is, if you can't wake your child or family member or anybody up and they're just not breathing right, perform CPR. You can't hurt the person, you can't do CPR wrong. In any way, shape or form, because literally any CPR is better than no. Yeah. And you know what? You don't even have to remember this. There is a free downloadable app from Google Play, Windows Store, or App Store that will talk you through everything you need to know in a really simple format for CPR. And you can even phone for an ambulance direct through the app as well.
Brilliant.
You don't actually have to come out of that.
Cool. So that's a New Zealand app.
Yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. And
So-
we'll have that at the end of the chat for you. So what about like bites and stings? You know, like, and often that's more seasonal.
Yes.
Too. You know, so we won't talk animal bites just yet, but say, well, yeah, animal bites. Of course, we'll talk animal bites, but how to manage those sorts of things. You know, like.
So the key thing here for any kind of a bite, whether it is animal bites or whether it is insects, is about keeping the wound clean.
Yeah.
You know, cold water, wash the area thoroughly, keep it clean, or as you mentioned earlier, any over-the-counter cleaning agent.
Yeah.
If there is some kind of a reaction, be prepared to give an antihistamine tablet. But with any kind of bites and stings, you find, you know, you always get red and swelling. A cold compress is absolutely ideal to help with any kind of pain and discomfort.
So frozen peas, cold flannel.
Absolutely. The key thing though with frozen peas is to have preferably a damp towel underneath.
Them. Yeah,
because
they
cold can burn. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And what about sort of, you know, burns? Because now burns is another really distressing event.
Very much so.
Especially if it's like a hot drink that's come down, or for some reason a child has been able to turn on a tap and put a limb or part of their body under. How do we manage that?
So burns are a cause for concern for people, and our advice for any kind of burn is to simply focus on cooling.
Yeah.
Now, any non-toxic liquid, any liquid that you can drink can be used, including water, obviously. Fizzy, any kind of fizzy diet or makes no difference. Beer, wine, the key message here is to simply cool that burn for a minimum time of 20 minutes. Now, it seems a really long time, but that cooling of the burn will massively help with the pain for the child, and will hopefully massively help with any kind of scarring as well.
Right.
So cool liquid, minimum 20 minutes, and Glad wrap that you have in the kitchen is absolutely awesome for keeping the air off the burn and massively reducing the pain.
Once you've done your 20 minutes of cool.
Absolutely.
So if it was a limb, you can wrap the Glad wrap round afterwards, and it protects it.
Preferably not wrapping, because if there's any, especially if it's a big area, and there might be some swelling.
Yeah.
Preferably not wrapping,
because it might be too tight.
Very much so. So placing it over. The key is to cover it with a non-stick dressing or Glad wrap.
Okay.
And obviously, remember, you've always got ambulance to call on as well. So as a general rule of thumb, any burn that's bigger than the person's half of the arm, so half of their arm, any burn bigger than that, call the ambulance, or any burn that affects the eyes.
Yeah.
And for any other kind of advice, you've obviously got Healthline or PlunketLine.
Yeah. Especially for the under fives, you know.
Very much so.
And we all use the same sort of software that helps us assess you safely and in a timely way and get you people to the ambulance who need it first.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Healthline there for the adults. So if you've got it ringing about your under fives, you may want to, PlunketLine 0800 933 922. And if you're an adult and you've sustained the burn or the fall or whatever, or you're worried about grandma or somebody else who's adult, 0800 611 611 116.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. And 111 for your emergency.
111 for ambulance.
Yeah. Okay. So poisons was just one other thing, just lastly, to sort of look at, what we do in the times of different, times that they drink medicines or they drink liquids or chemicals, ideally keeping them away from little people. But what should we recommend we do first? Probably, we get a lot of calls about my child's just drunk a certain chemical. We know that we can do assess for breathing and airway and any uncontrolled bleeding and things, and get the ambulance should that be needed. And there is always poison centre there, 0800 poison, especially if they're eating things out of the garden, or they come in with a berry in their hand and you don't know how many they've swallowed,
or even what it is.
Yeah, or the medicine. You said that you had 3 Panadol and you just put it down and you got distracted with the phone ringing, and now there's, you don't know where it is, or whatever, the medicine might be. So poison's 0800 poison, really good number. So we can come back to you for video 3 at about 10 to 2, and we'll talk about your role as a parent and how to respond and helping to stay calm and stuff. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.